Now pay attention, 007. Of all the regular side characters in James Bond, Q is my favorite. What's not to love about the Gadget Master and his interactions with a rambunctious man-child who regularly destroys his beloved creations? The Q scenes are something I look forward to, and several actors have had the chance to give their takes on the man. As you may expect from me by now, all of the different film takes will be included in this ranking, including the ones from the unofficial entries. No other criteria. Let's get going.
Now on, you carry a different gun. Show him, Amra.
Walter PPK. 7.65 mil with a delivery like a brick through a plate glass window.
The first actor to portray Major Boothroyd, it may seem harsh to place Peter Burton right at the bottom. There's nothing really wrong with his take, especially considering there was no recognized template for the character before. Boothroyd in Dr. No is a professional doing a job, and there's no reason to make the scene bigger than what it is. It works for the film, and I wouldn't change much about it. The problem comes when you place Burton amongst his colleagues. Everyone else is more memorable for one reason or another. You could take Burton, call him Bill Tanner instead of Boothroyd, and you'd lose almost nothing from Dr. No for the change. Again, Burton isn't awful with his limited time. He just unfortunately is in a ranking amongst other colorful portrayals.
Welcome to the James Bond 007 training school.
It's a small Minox camera, isn't it?
Security, sir.
Yes, a friend of mine's got one of them.
Yes, it's Mr. Bond, isn't it?
Perhaps not surprisingly, Q is enough of a dynamic personality that he can pretty seamlessly fit into a comedy film without needing to change much. Jeffrey Belden's take on the character isn't towards the bottom so much because of the film he's in per se, it's more because he's a double act with Fordyce, played by John Wells, someone you may know from another comedic part in the series. The Q scene is one of the better ones from Casino Royale 1967. It plays into some of the fun wackiness that the official films hint at, but taken to its furthest extreme, of course. A hat that backfires on its user, a pen that shoots poisonous gas into the user's eye, a vest with way too many gadgets built in, and so on. As ridiculous as some of these devices are, I don't think you'd have to tweak much to have some of these appear in an official film like Octopussy or Tomorrow Never Dies. Unfortunately, Belden is outshone by Wells, who gets more laughs out of me, so the luster is lost a bit, and I must place him second to last.
Check the replay. You'll find he's dead, and she's only got a flesh wound.
There's always an excuse, isn't there, 000?
Despite him coming in at number 4, I have a soft spot for John Cleese's take on the Quartermaster. I'm sure it has something to do with his appearance in a few of the Bond video games, with some of the others like Agent Under Fire seeming to take more from Cleese's portrayal than Llewellyn's. Cleese has the distinction of working his way into the role in-universe. Bond offhandedly calls him R, and then by the next film, he's promoted to being Q, with him even acknowledging his predecessor in dialogue. Cleese is a brilliant performer, and his take is far more comedic leaning than before. Not that the Q scenes weren't funny, but it was more of a balance, a mixture between comedy and the down-to-business nature of arming or informing 007 about his upcoming mission. It wasn't quite as broad with the humor. Cleese does deserve a spot over Burton or Belden for standing out more. You can see the inspiration he's taking from before, yet he's clearly giving his own spin on it. Between this and the video games he's participated in, I think I have enough information to confidently state he would have been a satisfactory presence for future films, but I don't know that he would have done enough for me to place him over the next 3 actors. A solid enough take for my part.
Yeah, I wish I had a new contract. They've slashed my budget, you see. You can't get the spare parts. And when you can, there's usually some strike that stops delivery.
Oh, how I love it when I get a chance to praise the unofficial films for a bit. Alec McCowan plays a different character called Algernon, but within a minute you know exactly what he's about and how he stands apart from Boothroyd. Never Say Never Again is trying to do its own spin on elements from the official series that audiences have come to expect, and this is one of the times they succeed the best. The Q scene still has the levity about it, but we're going about it a different way. Instead of Q being fed up with the rascal known as James Bond, it seems Algernon's the prankster this time. And for an older, more composed 007, this dynamic works very well. Plus, Algernon still focuses most of his time on arming Bond for his mission, so it achieves the balance I think the Q scenes need to have. Alas, he only appears in the one film, and while I like his take more than Cleese's, I can't in good conscience place him above the other two, who simply have more going on to them and are frankly more my speed. That being said, Algernon is a delightful presence in the film, and I could have used more of him.
I'll hazard I can do more damage on my laptop sitting in my pajamas before my first cup of Earl Grey than you can do in a year in the field.
Oh, so why do you need me?
Every now and then a trigger has to be pulled.
After Craig's first 2 films, I kind of figured his version would stay on a similar course to the original Fleming novels, where gadgets were downplayed and that we might not get a memorable take on Q. But the gracious beings from on high proved me wrong with Skyfall, and Ben Whishaw effortlessly provides his own unique take on the Wizard of Mi6. Reimagined as a younger, snarkier hotshot, Q in the Craig films develops the frustration with Bond that we fans hope to see again, as well as play a bigger part in the film's stories. While I'm happy about seeing more of Q than the typical 1 or 2 scenes we usually had, I'm reluctant about letting him always be a key player in the story. It replicates the M problem that we see from time to time. As important as Bond is to us as fans, I personally don't really want to see Bond's place at Mi6 be magnified. Bond is just one of a number of 00s, and I get the feeling he receives an inordinate amount of personal attention from M and Q over the other agents who are probably also on important assignments that could use their attention. This is most problematic to me in Spectre, though you could argue No Time to Die does it as well. I understand Q's increased presence in Skyfall due to Mi6's headquarters being blown up, and Q has to reband his crew together and set up shop elsewhere, so there aren't a whole lot of people who could perform his duties. However, in Spectre or No Time to Die, some of his duties feel like they could be taken over by one of his subordinates, and Q could just be the head of his branch checking in from time to time. Where's Smithers or Miss Nagai when you need them? This is probably more of a nitpick than anything, because I love Wishaw's dynamic with Craig, and his part injects a lot of life and fun into the films, which is needed to keep them from being too serious or pretentious. At the time of this recording, we have no solid information on the casting for the next Bond film, and while we have had certain actors which have carried over from different eras before, there's no telling if Wishaw will somehow survive the purge and come back. Even if he does, I kind of expect him to go the route of Judi Dench and play a different take on the character so as to sell the idea to the audience that this is a different incarnation of Q. That might be confusing to some people, as you expect that the same actor in the same part equals the same character as before. That's not always the case. If you want an example of the confusion this causes for general audiences, see the more recent run of Marvel films with their multiverse crossovers. Still, if we never see Ben Whishaw in the role again, I'd say he did well with the time that was given him, and earns his high ranking on this list for me.
Because you release this section of the roof and engage and fire the passenger ejector seat. Whoosh.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
probably the least surprising choice on this list. I can't help it. You don't do 17 films like Desmond Llewellyn did and not endear yourself to fans. In my opinion, Desmond is Q. The DNA of the character comes from his performances. Though he did first appear in From Russia with Love, from Goldfinger onwards, he set forth the expectations for this role and turned a 5-minute part into a beloved icon. That's impressive. Not many other franchises can boast that kind of achievement. Whenever there's a spy film that's clearly not got the Licari or Bourne realism bug, the audience looks for the character analog for Q, and I think most people would say that their theoretical perfect Bond film needs to have Q somewhere in there. He's a staple of the classic series, and he never fails to bring a smile to my face. I know the overuse of gadgets tends to be criticized with casual folks and movie critics, and are seen often as more Deus Ex Machina gimmicks than anything else. Yet I don't hear a lot of people resisting Q's presence in the films. That should tell you something about where he stands in pop culture. Picking a favorite scene with Desmond's Q is a difficult task. I think his best use overall is in License to Kill, partly because it's just a one-time thing with him going out into the field like that, and Q's affection for Bond comes out the best here without going against the tried and true persnickety dynamic we expect. However, I will cite the Brosnan films for having the best collection of scenes with him. Both GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies feature just about everything I want from a Q scene, yet The World Is Not Enough stands out the most for the unintended meta subtext of this truly being Desmond's final bow as the character. Despite how the scene plays now, Desmond intended to stay around for at least a couple of more films before Cleese took over fully, and he tragically died in a head-on collision 3 weeks after the film premiered. The scene is a serendipitous and bittersweet farewell to the man, and it never fails to make me a little melancholy. Other actors may play the Major and do it well, but Desmond can never be replaced in our hearts, and the sentimentality I have for him means there's no contest as to who the best Q is. I sincerely hope that Amazon recognizes the attachment we have to Q. If he doesn't show up in the next film, I think that will be okay depending on where they go with it. However, I do want him back before too long, and I'm sure many of you will agree that he's inseparable with the franchise. The Bond regulars are each notable in their own way, and probably all deserve a dedicated ranking before too long. But Q stands above them all to me, and I will never not get excited about a trip to Q Branch to see what he's been cooking for us.